really breaks my heart. Cause we've been lied to, misled for years, calling out to the Most High on this trail of tears. Hiya, 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 hiya.
The awareness of who you are, that's the smaller part, but the awareness on how to serve the Most High, that's the bigger question. Anyone would like to share, how their relationships have changed with individuals they know, whether it's family, friends, how did that change once you start seeing how you're supposed to serve the Most High? If anybody want to take, yeah, you can, yeah. Anybody want to share how their relationships change with individuals they knew or know, family members, things like that, once they start actually applying the word in their life?
Shalom, family. Shalom. I just want to add to that, everything changed for me. My whole family just basically turned their back on me. The more I talk about Christ, the more I talk about the word, the further away they got from me. And I remember reading some scriptures, I don't remember right off the bat, but now it doesn't bother me anymore because I kind of figured out that, what is that scripture? Few will be chosen, many be chosen, but few be selected, something like that. And now it kind of makes sense to me because everybody just don't hear. I've even had friends that I've been knowing for 30 years. They don't even call me anymore. Once I brought it up, I even tried to get them to come here. They don't have nothing to do with me anymore. And I found that with everybody, even people on the block, even brothers on the block I've talked to, hey, let's start obeying the Sabbath, let's start obeying the laws. They completely turn their back on me. So I'm used to it now because I see something that's at the end. Okay? That's all I have right now.
All right, all praise. Anyone else? I've got a couple more, I guess. Some young sisters over here.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Honestly, my family, they want to be around me, so I withdrew from
Oh,
them.
so you all that, huh? Okay, it's all good. Hey, laugh at the bear. Yeah, she put that disclaimer out there.
No.
All right, it's all good. All
I
right.
just gotta be honest, like they never withdrew. It's like they want me to be around and they still want me to, be a part of the family, but I choose not to. Because I don't want to fall into old habits, old conversations. My family, I come from a Christian background. I'm a preacher's kid, so they're happy that I'm in the Word. It's just being around them is more of like it's a setup for me. Like I'm walking into being attacked, so I stay away because I'm not going to go in a room armed full of bullets. Like I still have to protect what the Most High has given me and grow in that, so that when I am in that environment, I'm able to be edifying to them and not shooting bullets back off. So I had to distance myself.
All right. Okay. Good. Yeah. That's a good response. Yeah. A couple of children bring forth their experience.
Like at school and being young and naive to certain stuff and vulnerable to certain things, you start, and being in this truth, you start to look at people a different way and start, I don't want to say judging people, but like picking out those qualities that you don't want to be around and put yourself in a different friend group and just trying to pick out those few little good ones out the whole grade or the whole class, because be surrounded by the alphabet community and being surrounded by those gangster kids with the bad mouths and just being around now all of that, and then you just in the center of it. Some stuff can be knocking on your brain. That's why you just gotta stand these scriptures, so then none of their bad spirits can't get on you.
All All right.
So, like you were saying, how people. So my experience, I lost two of my dearest friends. Two of my dearest friends I had since like second grade. When I got into this truth, they started to like avoid me. Every time I talked about it, they would like walk away. And as soon as I start like ignoring them, also, they wanted to talk to me, but I knew they had bad spirits on them because their mouths were like dirty mouths. They had peer pressure. But once I stayed in these scriptures and saw scriptures that will say that you will lose friends in this truth, lose loved ones and everything, I decided to stay away from them because I didn't want bad spirits to jump on me. And I stayed in these scriptures and learned ways of the Most High to stay. Yeah.
All right.
Shalom. So, my relationship with my family changed because I'm telling them about the truth, but they still want me to be around, but they're still doing the same things. Half of my family are Muslim, the other half are Christians, and then, a lot of other things. But I can't be around them because they still celebrate the holidays, so they're still constantly trying to get me to come. They won't come to church, and they ask me questions about the truth, but when they ask me, it's so they can try to find something to oppose it, They believe in a lot of, in the same thing the world believes in, so we'll get into an argument, I have to stay away from them. Because they want to kind of pick me, so that they can try to come against it. But, so I have to stay away from them and limit my contact with them because it's not good, it's not good. And, and I just thought so much when I found the truth that everybody would be so excited, to know as happy as I was, why everything makes so much sense and all this. But people don't want to know. They don't. They want to live in their life and they're comfortable in what they're doing. And I know one of my closest friends. She don't want to talk to me because she feels like why every time we talk I have to talk about the Bible. She's a person that likes to debate issues, and so when I bring up the Bible, the first thing she'll say is, or scripture, she'll say, well, I can't debate that. It's not a debate. Everything is not a debate, But and we've been friends since 4th grade. But she doesn't want to hear the Bible, so we can't talk. But anyway, my relationships with a lot of people changed, not for the good, I wish they would come to church. I'm going to invite them to church again to see if they'll come. Maybe if they can hear from somebody else, it'll be good.
So that's what basically. Anybody else have anything to continue on? Okay.
Thank you. Shalom, family.
Shalom.
One thing I will add, and I guess I get mixed reviews from my family, so it's kind of similar to everybody. You lose some people hang on, some people just there, But one thing I will add is kind of walking in this truth now. There's a different responsibility, I guess I feel. And I guess to a certain extent, we all feel it. You got to stay in it because noticing, or at least what I've noticed so far, and me, I'm still fresh. I'm still getting the milk, right? But people, when you're around them and they see you and they hear some of the things you say, one or two things happen. Either they're like, oh, I thought I knew the Bible. I thought I, had a relationship with God. And they're like, I guess I really don't, because you have a whole different understanding. So it's like the conviction kind of builds on them, and it can push them either way. So, at least it's either pushing or pulling them somewhere. So that's where they need to go. So, for everybody, just kind of stay where you at with it, because they're going to be swayed one way or the other, and you the tool, that the Most High is using. So just don't let it go. You got a responsibility. So, keep your sword sharp.
All right. Well, with that's we're going to get into everybody's testimony concerning all culminates in tonight's lesson, and it's more the lesson is going to be more going into our experience. It's mainly more for the adults as far as going through the scriptures, our experiences. A lot of us older brothers and sisters concerning what these relationships are, and concerning the truth. Once we've received the understanding on how to serve the Most High, how to live our lives, how to know and understand how these relationships, know and understand these relationships, and how they are going to affect us in order to prepare ourselves for those when that happens. All right. So we're going to begin. The name of the lesson is Relations in the Truth According to the Most High. All right. So we're going to go ahead with the commentary.
The name of the lesson today is Relations in the Truth According to the Most High. Relations in the Truth According to the Most High. As we continue to grow in the world of the Most High, more things are revealed to us concerning friends and family. The Most High's Word, the Bible, gives us first-hand knowledge, understanding on how to handle our ever-changing, evolving relationship with the people we know. Let's take a look at what the Father says, how one should operate in a relationship.
All right. So we're going to go to the first set of scriptures, which is going to be in the Apocrypha. It's going to be the book of 1 Esdras, all right, chapter 4, verses 35 through 38. Once again, that's the book of 1 Esdras, chapter 4, verses 35 through 38.
This is the book of 1 Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 4, verse 35. Is he not great that maketh these things? Therefore great is the truth, and stronger than all things. Verse 36, all the earth calleth upon the truth, and the heaven blesseth it. All works shake and tremble at it, and with it is no unrighteous thing.
So we understand and know Elder Gabar has been driving this home for the last months concerning the strongest thing on earth is truth. All right, so we're going to use this truth and understand on how to operate in our relationships. But we know and understand that truth, it says truth has been blessed by the Most High. All works shake and tremble at truth, which is very key and interesting. All works do tremble at it, and with it is no unrighteousness. So truth repels all these different things. It repels unrighteousness. It repels everything, shakes and tremble at any type of work or anything someone does around you will shake and tremble at this truth as well. Keep reading.
Verse 37. Wine is wicked, the king is wicked, women are wicked, all the children of men are wicked, and such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them. In their unrighteousness also they shall perish. As for the truth, it endureth, and is always strong. It liveth and conquereth forevermore.
All right, so we understand and know that truth is very important, even when it comes to relationships. Right? So the truth is what's going to, it says in verse 38, it says, and as for the truth, it endureth and is always strong. It it liveth, and it conquereth forevermore. All right, and we know and understand that all works shake and tremble at truth, and with truth there is no unrighteous thing. And Most High has blessed truth. All right, so before we continue on, we're going to go to what is truth. All right, we're going to go to the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 142 and 151. Once again, the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 142 and 151. So the question is, what is truth? What is truth?
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
So we know the Most High's law is the truth. We're going to get another scripture to confirm that.
Verse 51, 151, Salakia. Thou art near, O Ahia, and all thy commandments are truth.
So all the Most High commandments are truth. That's why the heavens blessed it, because his commandments are truth. So the strongest thing on earth is the Most High's commandments. Every word shake and tremble at his commandments. So we don't understand that by keeping this truth, these commandments, we understand and know that keeping these commandments, truth and honesty, you have to establish that in your relationships. So you have to establish the commandments in your relationships. Once you receive this truth, the understanding and knowledge of keeping the Most High's commandments, now you have to establish this now with your families, to the point to where now you are setting a boundary. You know, because we know truth will stand forever. But if you start wavering on that because of the relationships that you have with those that you know and your family members, parents, you know, siblings, things like that, you're going to have a hard time trying to keep the Most High command, because now you're in that teetering point now where you're looking to serve man. And the Most High says you can't, well, Ishai said you can't serve two masters. You can't say serve the Most High, and you can't serve your family. You're going to love the one and hate the other. You're going to end up doing more for one and doing the other. And then if you try to do both, then you're going to be the one that's going to be hurt in the end. So we know in order to, with these relationships that we have, you know, whether we're married, whether we're single, things like that, when we're dealing with our, you know, our brothers and sisters in our families, that we have to establish that relationship now with the commandments. That'd be the first thing. All right, so we're going to continue on the book of John, chapter 8, verses 31 and 32.
This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 31. Yeah. Then said Yeshua to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
All right, so we know that the commandments, we know the truth is the commandments, and they will make us free. And in relationships, if we uphold the truth, these commandments in relationship, guess what they'll do? They'll free us from the headaches that will come by not establishing that truth with our family members. And what I mean by that, being honest with your family on how you operate and staying with the Most High will relieve you from future stress and awkward moments with friends and family. So when it's, you know, we know when a lot of times you still want to be with your family, but then, you got to keep the word, and then you don't know how to come to them at a certain point where you may be nervous, you know, things like that. By standing on the truth and establishing that, once you receive it, establishing it and not playing around with it, you don't have to worry about the stress of trying to relay or trying to keep the commandments, but still be around those that you know, around friends. I'm trying to keep the commandments, but I still want to be cool with this individual. I still want to hang with him, but I know inside the Holy Spirit is really telling me, hey, you're not supposed to be doing this. But I'm still trying to please these other individuals that are around me. So the truth will save us from a lot of headaches. Also, what it will save us from, it'll draw that line to where those who we know, friends and family, won't come to us with certain things as well, because they know what you stand on. It's just like, you know, the people that always seem to get the pass in these days are the ones who do the wicked. You know, you have the wicked coworker. You know, you got the individual that they can get away with anything because no one wants to deal with them. No one wants to reprimand them. No one wants to be bothered with it because they're a headache to deal with. So that's the same way how we have to look at it when it comes to with the Most High. These commandments is what's going to, and when we uphold them, that's the first thing, is to uphold them. Once we receive it, is to uphold it, and then certain things won't come your way because they know, oh, well, this brother and sister don't get into that. We're not going to come to him or her with that because this is how they operate, and I'm not going to, you know, the Most High will save you a lot of those things by just on the law alone, just saying, walking in it. He's going to keep you away from all those, like I said, those fiery darts. Because, you know, like I said, especially in relationships, like even when you're single, you know, single and marriage is a little different, but in all, it'll save you from a lot of headaches, you know, to come, you know, with past relationships, things like that. The law, the Most High commandments will save you from a lot of those stressful times where you don't have to worry about being asked a question or asked for something when someone already knows how you operate, all right? All right, so we're going to continue on. So the first relationship we're going to go over is with parents, all right?
We're going to go to the book of Exodus. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to read the commentary first. We're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 12. Commentary reads, I agree this one can be tough. There's a fine line you have to balance in respecting your parents while serving the Most High. But it can be done, I'll say it again, but it can be done if you operate within the scriptures.
So, right, so we understand and know that a lot of times that, our parents, like we just read the Ten Commandments, you're supposed to honor them. Honor your parents, respect them, you know, even outside of what they may be doing in their life. But you have to find that, the commentary read, that spiritual fine line to where you're upholding the Most High's commandments, but you're not disrespecting your parents in doing so. So this is because, the relationship between parent and child is a little different, even though when you get older, is that parent is still, is still going to look at you as their child. So certain things they're not going to receive from the child that, even though you know is right, they're not going to receive right away. They got, the whole thing I taught you, you teach me, things like that. But as we grow in this word, we understand with patience, things like that, and understand that, we don't understand now that we have to live the life. We have to show it by living it, and that'll speak more volumes than us, explaining or going over scriptures. But they can see our transformation by walking in it, as far as that. So parents is a tricky one, but the Most High always has the tools in order for us to operate correctly. So once again, the first scriptures is we're gonna go back to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 12.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee.
All right, so we get this scripture all the time. We say it every Shabbat. What is honor to you all? Anybody want to? I use a word that's not commonly used. Gander. Want to take a gander at this one? It was one of those. Yeah, the old gander. What is? Yes, sister. Obey, all right. Obey. What you mean by obey? Because you're older now. You got your own family.
Respecting them, and kind of doing what they say. As long as it's lawful.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody else want to take a look at what honor is to them concerning their parents? Yes, sister.
I would say be patient with them, and just for me, like just watching your attitude, like make sure you stay like beneath them, like realize that they're still your parents, so like they still have authority in a sense, like don't cross that line.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Anyone else? Yes. Okay. All right, and we don't understand that the benefit of doing that is a long life, right? So we're going to continue on. We're going to go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 9.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 9. For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. He have cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him.
All right, so we know that honoring your parents is a very serious deal to the Most High because it's an order established in it. So we understand, that's why it's a fine balance that you have to, because like I said, in this awareness of today, you're not going to have everybody going to be on the same page as you are. So how to operate that in that, even though you have the truth and awareness, you still can be cursed if you don't come to your parents correctly when you're trying to operate with them. Not even explaining the scriptures, but so to speak, once you start, when you keep the commandments, feast days, things like that, the Shabbat, not honoring the days, what the world has to offer, and being respectful in a way to let them know that you can operate in those things. So we have to be aware and understand that even in though the Most High blesses with this understanding, that there's still responsibility we have to those who are not aware of the Most High's commandments yet, especially our parents, to respect them in the manner in which the Most High gave them that authority, because He gave them that authority from Himself for the parents to be honored. Regardless of what they do, how they operate, as a child, we still supposed to honor them according to the scriptures, all right? So the next one is going to be the book of Tobit, all right, in the Apocrypha, chapter 10, verse 12.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 10, verse 12. And he said to his daughter, honor thy father and thy mother-in-law, which are now thy parents, that I may hear good report of thee. And he kissed her. And also said to Tobias, the Most High of heaven restore thee, my dear brother, and grant that I may see thy children of my daughter Sarah before I die, that I may rejoice before the Most High. Behold, I commit my daughter unto thee of special trust, wherefore do not entreat her evil.
All right, so this is Tobias speaking to his now father-in-law, Raguel, and giving understanding that even this is more for those who are married, that you have parents, you have to honor both your parents and your husband's parents, or vice versa. It's not the old things, TV sitcoms where the mother-in-law comes into town and the husband has to put on a good smile. a good smile and, be pleased and things like that, but he can't stand it. All the in-laws are coming to town. So, it's not like, but it's not like that, but the Most High said we're supposed to treat them as we treat our own parents, because they are our parents, as far as that. So, we're going to continue on. We're going to stay in the Apocrypha. We're going to get to how to honor them in the book of Sirach, right, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3. We're going through verses 12 through 16. And if you read, this is a scripture, this is a chapter that actually, the whole chapter is pretty much gives some more insight on Exodus 20 and 12. So it kind of goes in a little bit more in depth on how or what you should be doing as sons and daughters, for your parents.
This is the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 12. My son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth.
Right. So this is how you honor your parents according to the scriptures. Keep reading.
Verse 13. And if his understanding fail, have patience with him, and despise him not when thou art in thy full strength.
Right. So when because it's amazing how as we get older, our parents get older. As we get older, our parents get older. Right. So it's even in our youth, we're sprouting up. They're declining. So in that, having patience and awareness, will go a long way in honoring your parents according to the scriptures. All right, keep reading.
Verse 14. For the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten.
It says, for these things are not forgotten. So even if you honor your parents, won't be forgotten. So the same thing is going to happen if you don't honor them. That's not going to be forgotten either. So it goes both ways. In doing so in this relationship, once you get to the age to where you're living on your own, things like that, you're no longer under their care, so to speak. That these are the things that you must do, even regardless if they don't have the awareness or the understanding of the scriptures. As far as that, these are the ways we still honor them in that as well. Keep reading.
And instead of sins, it shall be added to build thee up.
Right, it says, for the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten, and instead of sins, it shall be added to build thee up. So these things cross out sins that you may have done. These particular works, they cancel out what you may have done prior to that. It's by honoring your parents and this, like I said, these are scriptures on how to honor them even in a relationship to where, like I said, you're not around, for barbecues or things like that. But if they need your help, instead of, a lot of times we get this awareness, things like that, we become holier than thou for a little bit. It's all stages to where, we keep everything just like, to the letter. And then after a while, we start to we take off and we start to ascend, to where we're normally at. We start to get an understanding. We become ourselves again, and then at first we don't want to be around nobody. Don't want to keep anything as far as that. And then the Most High doesn't want that to be so. But once we realize and understand where our place is, that these are the things that even though we don't agree. Well, maybe what our parents do and things like this. This is how we still honor them according to the scripture. And by them seeing this is going to, it be the Most High will bring them into the awareness how to serve the Most High, because this is where you're getting your source of information from to respect it. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 15. In the day of thine affliction, it shall be remembered.
So it shall be remembered. So it's always, Most High always has a benefit. It's like, there's always a reward for when we serve them. Just like how our parents, you know, if they did those things, we give you a reward for a good report card, you know, things like that. You know, the Most High always gives out rewards too, to where if we do what's right by Him, He's going to reward us. So it says, in the day of thine affliction, it shall be remembered. So the Most High is going to remember those works you did for your parents, and He's going to help you when you're in your situation. Can you read it?
Thy sins also shall melt away as the ice in the fair warm weather.
Wow. So our sins will melt away as the ice in the fair warm weather. So doing these things, the Most High is going to wipe out, clear the slate for us on things that were unbecoming to us before. By, you know, having this relationship according to the scriptures, even though, once again, you may not see eye to eye with your parents on how they're living their lives. But if you're doing these things, you're there for them, you're respecting them. These are the things that's going to, after a while, hopefully is going to get them to look at how you operate, how you serve the Most High, and then they'll be in here with you as well. Keep reading.
He that forsaketh his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angereth his mother is cursed of the Most High.
So those strong statements from the Father. You know, so like I said, getting the word, understanding how to serve the Most High. We can't just disregard our parents no more. Like, man, I hate y'all. You know, hey, y'all not living right. You know what I'm saying? Y'all still celebrating these particular holy holidays and all this stuff. You know, hey, I'm going to still be here for you outside of that. You know, but this is how I'm going to do it according to the scriptures. You know, I'm not going to do it anything that's going to compromise, you know what I'm saying, how to serve the Most High. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there for you. If you need help, I'm going to do the things that a child is supposed to do once they've gotten of age. You know what I'm saying? Once our parents start to decline, I'm going to still have that relationship, but I'm going to have it in righteousness to the point where I'm not going against my parents, but I'm still honoring the Most High as well. So that's that fine line. You know, and like I said, by reading the entire chapter, we'll get more understanding concerning, you know, other ways as far as serving your parents. But that's how you do it. That's how you balance that. You know, it's a balancing act to where you still honor them by being there for them in righteousness. All right. So we got another scripture here, Hebrews chapter 12, verses 9 through 10.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 9 through 10. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence.
So we respect our parents in the flesh, right? Keep reading.
Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live?
Right, so by respecting our parents in the flesh, the ones that we see, we should have even more respect for the Most High. All right. So we're going to continue to read. I'll explain it after that.
Verse 10. For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure.
So they chastise us after their own pleasure. What that means is that they want us to be obedient according to what their rules in the house. You know, they want us to be obedient, you know, for their pleasure, meaning their understanding on how things should be done. So what the scriptures are telling us here is that we should have more respect of the Father in heaven versus our parents when it comes to serving Him. And there's going to be conflict at times, maybe have happened already, to the point of where, you know, whatever you're doing is not appeasing to them because it kind of, you know, no longer have the same relationship. You know, no longer you're not coming over as much as was mentioned. You know, you're not coming to certain events that you all used to have fun doing. But this is where, when we read earlier about truth and honesty, where you have to stand on the word of the Most High and say, and like I said, it's a fine line because we just read it. This is, read scriptures on how you honor them. But this is where the Most High comes in at, to where we respect Him more than our parents. And we're going to get into that because ultimately He's the one overall, so He's the Father of all. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get into more scriptures understanding that the Most High comes first, that, even though we reverence our parents, we should reverence Him more than them as well, but keeping the scriptures. Keep reading.
But He, for our profit, that we might be partakers of His holiness.
Right, so it says, for they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but He, Ahaya, for our profit. So whatever the most of, so the parents do is for their pleasure, but what the Most High does is for us. He doesn't need anything. So, but He's doing it for our profit. He chastises us, He disciplines us, so we can be in His glory, which is what's going to be all in all. So the Most High does this for not for Him, but for us. All right. So we're going to continue on. We got one more scripture for the parents, Matthew 10 and 37. And this is where it could be, this relationship when it comes to, because it's like I said, it's all about serving the Most High, and this is where, and I was going to add it, in the scripture, but I ended up forgetting that. But this is where we have to start looking at, all right, okay, I'm going to honor my parents. I'm going to have this relationship with them in righteousness, but I still have to draw the line on how I operate with the Most High. I can't have that, even that relationship, I can't have that affect my relationship with the Father, all right? And understanding that, we'll like I said, we'll ruffle some feathers, we'll get some eye rolls or some long sighs, or, things like that, but we have to stand on His word because we're supposed to reverence our Father in heaven over our parents, all right? All right, so we got Matthew 10 and 37.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 37. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
So this is Yeshaya. Hey, everything he gets from the Father. So Yeshaya just don't make up anything. So in anybody's word, what does this scripture mean? What does the scripture mean to you all? When it says, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Yes?
Put the Most High first.
Put the Most High first, exactly. Anybody else? Yes. Say it again. You can't fulfill the works of Christ? How? Okay, gotcha. Anybody else? Yes.
It kind of means that if your parents give you glazed ham, you can say no and not feel anything.
Right, when you say glazed ham. Right, yeah. They just come to your doorstep. Hey, I got this ham for you. But exactly. But if we acquiesce to our parents or to our children versus the Most High, that's what it means that you love them more by, like you said, by accepting that glazed ham, by accepting, I want to serve the Most High, but you're more in fear of them. You reverence them more than you do the Father, and you rather, okay, I'll go to this shindig on a Shabbat versus going to honoring the Most High because they got this family reunion, things like that, or they got this thing. We normally go take pictures at this time, Christmas, things like that. All right, so instead of me referencing what the scriptures tell me, I'm going to respect them more, I'm going to love them more, because I'm going to do what they want to do versus what the Most High says. And Christ says, hey, if you do that, you're not worthy of me. If you love your father and your mother, you respect them on what they're saying more than you respect what I'm saying, and it's opposed to what I'm saying, you're not going to be worthy of me in the kingdom. And these are the things where it's going to, the relationships that you have, hey, it may start to fray a little bit. But we got to be, as individuals, we got to be prepared. We still serve them in righteousness. We just read it, Sirach. You still can be there for them. You still can be that child when they're in time of need. You still keep your communication, your communication open with them. You don't burn any bridges, things like that. But if they're there, mother, father, I love you, but this is how I'm living my life. Saying, hey, I'm always here for you when you need me. And that's the way you have to do it a lot of times, especially if they're not, if they're not on the same, spiritual, wavelength that you're on. But this is what you end up happening a lot of times, is that you're taking that stand in the Most High, and a lot of times it's not going to be a pleasurable thing. Yes.
Yeah, that precept, Deuteronomy chapter 13:6. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or thy wife, of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers. And I'm going to skip down to verse 8. Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal it.
Right, that's a great precept, because that's that's what will happen once you start taking that stand. Once you start bringing forth truth and the commandments, you're gonna have, it's gonna it'll weigh on you to the point where a lot of things you used to do together, of course, now you can't do. But then you have to realize, start transitioning, because we're gonna get into it later on. You got to start transitioning your relationships, as far as that. So I won't put the cart before the horse. We're gonna continue on. So we're gonna go to next is siblings and relatives. All right. So the first scripture we're gonna stay in Matthew 10. We're gonna go up a couple scriptures, 34 through 36.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
So Christ isn't come with peace. He had a mission, but he understands that it says here, I came not to send peace, but a sword. We understand what that sword is, right? Continue to read.
Verse 35. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father.
So he's come to set a man at variance with his father. So variance, we understand there's an issue, there's a problem, there's a situation where furniture can be moving. There's going to be things that's going to happen to where, they're not going to like one another. Someone's going to be offended. All right, keep reading.
And the daughter against her mother.
And the daughter against her mother. There's going to be a situation where they're not going to see eye to eye. Keep reading.
And the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
And a man's foes, his enemies, is going to be those in his same household. Can you imagine that? A man's foes, it says again, a man's foes shall be they of his own household. So we know what the sword is. It's the word of the Most High, right? So it's amazing that, that in your house you will be divided by this word. You will be divided by taking a stand in the commandments. And like I said, these are going to rupture relationships, especially with, that we just went over parents, but actually if you have siblings too, aunts, uncles, cousins, things like that, that where you're going to offend them by just keeping the commandments. I mean, it's crazy to think, by you upholding a righteousness, it's going to show them that they're unrighteous, and they're not gonna like that a lot. It's almost like you one-upping them in a sense, to where you think that you're all that, or you think that you're like the term I used earlier, holier than thou, things like that, to where their faults are going to be shown, and they're not going to like that. They won't like that mirror that the Most High is going to put in front of them when you start walking in the light. It's going to flash on that darkness as far as that. But the word is going to divide, and we have to be prepared for that division, because even though a lot of times we say we're ready to end certain relationships that don't go right, we be lying to ourselves. We'll say, oh yeah, hey, if it's time to go, I'm about to go. But we remember what happened to Lot's wife, right? Especially in the book of Joshua. In the book of Joshua, explained that, hey, she was looking back because her children were still there. She had family there, but who is going to be Lot's wife? Is anyone here going to be Lot's wife? I mean, that's for sisters and brothers. Who are going to allow them to be destroyed by holding on to relationships that are not of the Most High? Regardless if you spent your adolescence years growing up with brother, sister, father, mother, things like that, cousin, are you prepared to sever that tie when this needs to happen? These are the things that we'll talk it and say, but are you actually prepared to say, I got to leave this individual who I love dearly, because, we grew up together, we shared great times. But if they're not willing to serve the Father and go on the path you're going, we're going to get into it later, more about that as well. Once again, I'm going to keep it there. Actually, we're going to go into it now. Matthew 12. Matthew 12 verses 46 to 50, and Luke 8 and 21. So Matthew 12, 46 to 50, and Luke 8 and 21.
This is the book of Matthew chapter 12 verse 46. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him.
So this is Yeshua. He was, speaking. Keep reading.
Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee.
So, someone said, hey, Yeshua, your family is here. They all knew who Yeshua was, who his family was. So they were like, hey, your mom's here, your family's here, to kind of bring him forward, to get his attention. Keep reading.
But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren?
So they probably looking at it like, man, what do you mean? Who is my, Yeshua saying, who is my mother? Hey, Yeshua, I just told you, your mom is here. You know what I'm saying? Your family right here. But Yeshua said, who is my mother and who is my brother? Keep reading.
And he stretched forth his hands toward his disciples.
And he stretched forth his hands toward his disciples. This is key. Keep reading.
And said, behold, my mother and my brethren.
So Yeshua is bringing some understanding concerning on who actually his family is. Keep reading.
For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
All right, so this is a shift now concerning what relationships really mean to the Most High. It's not what we consider what we thought it used to be concerning relationships. Just because you grow up with somebody doesn't mean, as Yeshua just said, doesn't mean that's your brother or your mother, your father or your sister. This is Yeshua's words here. He pointed to his disciples, those who follow his word. This is my family. You know what I'm saying? The people who do the will of my Father, that is my family. And that's where we have to be at if it comes to that point. We have to be in that same understanding that those who I come to Shabbat class with, I gotta start getting relationships and getting comfortable with them, right? It's past the time of the fake, shalom's or shaloms, how's it going? Because the times are coming to the point where, hey, you never know, you may have to live with this brother or sister. You may have to move in, because this is your family now. Some people may say, oh, you gonna deny your own flesh and blood? No, Christ just pointed that out. Hey, he said, if my mom, if my family wasn't following the Most High, hey, they're not a part of my family. This is what Christ is saying. This is what we have to be at. This is what we have to get ourselves spiritually at, to the point to where we're comfortable in knowing and saying, hey, when I come to class, when I come to service, when I come to a feast day, this is my family. I can go to a brother or I'll go to a sister in my time of need, because these are the ones that's going to be there for me, because I know that they're keeping the commandments. We hope and pray they do. They're honored to keep, and in doing so, I know someone has my back. This is what we have to realize. And, the whole thing, in Shai, it's like the whole family thing, he's saying it's played out. That whole family thing is played out. Just because I grew up with somebody doesn't mean that they're my family. And believe, a lot of us have situations that we know. We can have siblings that will do you worse than someone outside of the family. A lot of us can attest to that, to the point to where they're like, man, are you really my brother? Did we really share a womb together? You know what I'm saying? Did we really grow up? Did we really under the same household? Because this individual is just killing me, just like Cain did Abel. They're just like, I thought you was my, hey, we had an argument, man, you just went in on me. So it's kind of those deals that Christ saying, hey, family, if it's not the most high, it's overplayed. That whole, thing, blood thicker than water is trash. And it'll get you killed. It get you either in hell or get you, like I said, Lot's wife, because she thought blood was thicker than water. That's why she looked back, and you see she still pillar of salt. And so we have to realize and understand that these relationships that we have with our family, they're going to evolve. What they're going to evolve to, only the Most High knows, and only we're going to know concerning how we keep the commandments. If we truly serve the Most High, are we going to make the right decision? Are we going to make the ultimatum in order to stand on the Most High word, or are we going to, go back to the world and be with our families because, they're here and things like that? What are we going to do? All right. Luke 8:21. So we get some more in Luke 8:21 to get some more understanding on what the will is, will of the Father. So let's get that real quick.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 8, verse 21. And he answered and said unto them, my mother and my brethren are these which hear the word of the Most High and do it.
Hey, that's plain and simple. It says, Yeshaya answered and said unto them, my mother and my brethren are these which hear the word of the Most High and do it. So that's your family. Like I said before, with the parent situation, you still honor them, you still respect them, you still be there for them. But your true family is going to be the ones that hear the word of the Most High and follow it. And it can't get any plainer than that. Can't get any plainer than that. So this is where we have to go. We have to start evolving. turning into coming to service of Christ, because there's going to be a lot of relationships broken and a lot of relationships made in our walk, in our individual walks, and we have to be prepared for that. All right, so we got one more scripture in siblings and relatives, the book of Psalms, chapter 69, verse 8.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 69, verse 8. I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children.
Read that one more time. One more time.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 69, verse 8. I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children.
Right. So who all feel like that? That you can't, right. Most of us, hands raised because, hey, we come like an alien. Like we're from some other country, or they don't know us anymore. We become a stranger unto our own family members, to our brothers, to our sisters, cousins. We're not the same person. And that's a good thing. That we become a stranger, because if they notice that, now you know that you are actually keeping the commandments. But this is what's going to happen. You become a stranger to them. But by being so, which means what? They're not the family of the Most High, because they said, Yeshua said, those who do the will of my Father, that's my mother, that's my brother. So you become strangers to them, but then you'll become relatives to the body of Christ and his family. Because he's going to know you. Those who are there doing the work, they're going to know you. And then that's your family. So that's what I'm saying. That transition is going to happen. Are you going to allow it to happen? You're going to allow that transition to happen? You're going to hold on to those good times, to that picture book, that picture album? You know what I'm saying? You're going to hold on to it, or you're going to let that go? And then, come to the body of Christ, his true family. Because that's the one that's actually going to keep the commandments. That's the one that's going to not break out when times get rough. Those are the ones, that's be your family. Those ones is going to stick together and not going to allow nothing to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? So which one do you want to hold on to? You're going to want to hold on to the one that may stick with you, but after a while, if it gets too tough, leave. Or you're going to know that you're going to be with someone who's going to be there to the end with you. These are the decisions that we have to make. All right. So we're going to a little commentary here.
Be prepared to hurt and to be hurt by members of your family when it comes to the Father. They will deem your life strange and try to win you back, or worse, they will discredit you to others. Blood is not thicker than water. Baptism.
Right. So, hey, like we spoke before, hey, that baptism, it trumps your relationship with those in your family that you grew up together. The baptism trumps that. Water is thicker than blood, especially when it comes to the baptism, right? So we're going to go back to Matthew's real quick, because it's in chapter 10, verses 18 through 22, because these are the things that you got to prepare for. You are prepared to hurt those that you love and be hurt by those that love you too. And you got to be able to have the spiritual wherewithal to not buckle under pressure, because you may get some disparaging remarks from the members of your family. Right? We got to be strong enough and not allow those things to affect us to where we're running back to them.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18, chapter 10, verse 18. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved.
Right, so it's going to come a time where, like I said, you may indirectly or directly, people may, call you out in this truth and understanding because, now you're upholding these commandments. Now we know that the world hates Christ, so they're going to hate the Christ in you. So a lot of times they may, have ill feelings to you now because now you no longer are operating how they operate. And when you don't do that, it either happens two ways. Either they'll let you, continue, or they'll feel offended some type of way and they want to take shots at you now. And by doing so, like I say, either directly or indirectly, they can give your name up. They can give you up to somebody else, all right? So we've got some more of those scriptures. We're going to go to John 16, 1 through 4.
This is the book of John, chapter 16, verse 1. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. Yeshua
spoke so we won't be offended. So Yeshua is trying to prepare us, all right, for these particular incidents. Keep reading.
They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yeah, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth the Most High's service.
So a lot of them are going to be thinking that they're doing the right thing for you by, disparaging you or, having somebody else talk to you, Right, yeah. Like the Apostle Paul thought he was doing the Most High's work by, putting disciples of followers of Christ in prison, things like that. So they're going to think they're doing the right thing a lot of times because they think that the way you're operating now, because you're a stranger to them now, they're trying to figure out, hey, what happened to, my family member? So they're going to think they're going to be doing the Most High's will by killing you, which doesn't always have to mean by actually physically killing you, but by trying to destroy how you operate. The word of the Most High, try to discredit how you live in the commandments, trying to find different doctrines to oppose what you uphold. Things like that. This is what they'll be trying to do because they're thinking they're doing the right thing for you. Keep reading.
Verse 3, and these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. But these things have I told you, that when the time shall come, ye may remember that I told you of them. And these things I said not unto you at the beginning, because I was with you.
Right, so Christ, this is with the disciples, but he's prepared the disciples as also he's preparing us. So he no longer is with us. So we have to be prepared to know that, hey, you may have, in these relationships with siblings, things like that, who are bent on getting you back into the fold of the family, will do whatever means, by any means necessary to do that. And it could be to the point where it's going to hurt you more than help you. But Christ said we have to be prepared for we got to be prepared for that when that happens. We got to be prepared for our name to be put out there in a negative light, to the point to where, you know, it's shared with other family members. Now, you got other family members looking at you funny when you may see them at the store or, you know, maybe on social media, things like that. To the point now, they're looking at you funny because of what somebody else said, trying to get you to come back to the fold, to their fold. All right, so we're going to continue on. Let's see what I'm going here. Romans 10, 1 and 3.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. For they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High.
Right, exactly. So once again, this is more clarification that they're going to do what they think is right. You know, you may have some family members that go to, you know, still go to church, things like that, brothers and sisters. You know, so they're going to try to find a way according to their understanding, but they don't know, they don't have the understanding of the Most High to try to, like I said, win you back. And like I said, it's going to be, you know, be prepared that it may, just be prepared that you may be negatively looked upon by others, by these individuals. You just got to be prepared for it. So the next we're going to go to is on friends, right? And this is key. This is key on friends, you know, because we don't understand in this walk, you're not going to have many of them if you start off with them. All right, so we got Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, verse 7, and then verses 14 through 17. So that's the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, verse 7, then verses 14 through 17.
It's the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 6, verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him.
Right, so this is just wisdom, you know, for now and then to come on how to, choose a friend, right? Because when we're young, your parents say everybody's not your friend. We use the term friend so loosely. Now, and don't understand the meaning of it. But we're going to continue on, verse 14.
A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such an one hath found a treasure. Nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency and unavailable.
Invaluable. It says nothing does countervail a faithful friend, so no situation is going to separate that friend from you. So that friend is like a strong defense. He's going to be there for you. She's going to be there for you. Nothing that you do is going to separate that particular bond. Keep reading.
A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Most High shall find him.
So it's those that fear the Most High will find him. So, hey, there should be friends amongst here, which I know there are, but you find a friend by fearing the Most High. That's how you find a true friend. Keep reading.
Verse 17, whoso fears the Most High shall direct his friendship aright.
So that's the key part that was interesting. It says, whoso feareth the Most High shall direct his friendship aright. So those previous relationships that you have now with those brothers, that you vibe with well, if you fear the Most High, you're going to set that friendship aright. It may mean that friendship has to end. Because if you fear the Most High, oh, no, I can't do that anymore. I know we used to go out, I know we used to do this here, yeah, I can't, you're gonna set that friendship right. Now, if that friendship is gonna stay one, or if that's a true friend, nothing's gonna countervail that relationship. You changing your life, nothing's going to switch that. And I see the sisters over here smiling because I was thinking about their relationship because Sister Malaka, got the understanding, but her friend, Sister Kanai, nothing countervailed that relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because when you fear the Most High, they're going to have a friend. He's going to give you the friends that you have, and that's how they're going to grow with you or not. So this is how we have to look at those who are single and those who are married. But when you're married, you shouldn't have that many friends. You know what I'm saying? Especially not that single. But for those who are single, young, things like that, those who when you feel the Most High, you'll set that friendship right. You're going to, once you realize what your purpose is, serving the Most High, once you set it right, it's gonna go either way. All right, keep reading.
Start 17. Is that right? Yeah. Humble thyself.
From 17.
Slack it. Whoso fears the Most High shall direct his friendship aright. For as he is, so shall his neighbors be also.
Exactly. So you can't have a friend if you are operating the Most High and they're not. And that just don't work. The Most High tells us that we can't be amongst unbelievers. So that relationship is not going to last. You have to, it says here, for as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. That's the only way you're going to have a true friend. You both got to be on the same one accord in everything. That's your true friend, not, our previous relationships or relationships that we're trying to hold on to now, because that can affect you in the end. If you don't have somebody who is as you are, they're not going to stand firm on the Most High. They'll give you up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm not going through all this for this. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I love you, bro, but I ain't going street preaching with you, man. They gonna have me on camera, man. And I want them to see and associate me with that. Just, things happen, man. I can't do that no more, man. I think you should be wearing those fringes, man. They may catch you, man. You may arrest you, I'm going a little overboard with it, but that's the understanding how how you're going to set that friendship right, is by when you keep the commandments and fear the Most High, he's going to give you brothers who's going to roll with you. You know what I'm saying? And this, like I said before, the body is what's going to be your family. This is what Christ is explaining. You're going to get your friends out of this body. You're going to get your, your relationships, your marriages out of this body. You're not going to be able to get it out of the world. It's not going to work. Because the truth is going to stand. If you don't use the truth, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have all the stressful situations, the awkward moments, things like that. So that's what a friend does. You have to have in order to have a friend, they got to be in this work with you. So we're going to jump over to Proverbs 18 and 24.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 24. A man that hath friends must shew himself friendly, and there's a friend that sticketh closer than a brother.
Exactly. Remember that it ain't all about blood. Blood is not always thicker than water. When we talk about water, we talk about baptism. So your brother who's been baptized in this work will be closer. It's going to come a time he's going to be closer than your actual blood relative, so-called. So once again, these relationships, they start to evolve. they start to change to where, you know what I'm saying, these paths start to split to where, hey, I'm going one way. But remember that you do have your friends. If you do have a friend, he's going to be just like your brother, or how a brother should be. And realize and understanding that this is who you have to lean on. These are the new relationships that are going to start to become anew in this walk, all right? So we got one more scripture for friends, and then we're going to marriage. John chapter 15, verses 13 through 17.
Chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love have no man than this. I heard that before. Than a man lay down his life for his friends.
Right, so we don't understand if you're in this walk, you know what I'm saying, you're going to sacrifice yourself for your brother. We, as family, we have to sacrifice ourselves one for another, help each other out in time of need. Can you read it?
Ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you.
There's a disclaimer in Yeshua. It said, you are my friends, but if you do whatsoever I command you, which comes from the Father. That's how we have to set our friendships right. We got to be as Christ. The only way we can be boys, we can be sisters, if you do whatsoever the Most High commands us to do. Keep reading.
Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. But I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. These things I command you, that ye love one another.
Right. So, you know, being lonely out in the world is okay. You know, you have friends in the Most High. I know that may sound lame to some, you know, I know especially when we were children, you know, it was lame when your parents say, well, I'll go out with you. It wasn't the same if you went hanging with somebody else. Well, I love you. It ain't the same, Mom, that, you know, I want them to love me. You know, it ain't the same. It don't have the same ring to it. You know what I'm saying? But hey, if you're lonely out there, you have any friends, hey, you got the friend in the Most High, but also you have friends amongst the body as well. You know what I'm saying? You know, and this is how we have to, you know, start looking at things, because it's going to, when things get closer with these different things with the coronavirus and all this other nonsense they keep bringing out, hey, you know, we're going to need to lean on each other more. We can't lean on each other if we don't know each other, to the point that where, you know, we still in that passive mode. Shalom, time, you know, hey, we gotta be, you know, hey, what's going on? You know, hey, you know, it's respectful. Obviously, you don't want to be like bruh man, and you know, you be wearing the brother's robe. You know what I'm saying? You know, we want to get that comfortable. You know, Mark, you don't want to be making sandwiches. You waking up, you know, you don't want to get that comfortable. But we gotta be friends. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be, you know, we gotta be family to the point that where, you know, we feel comfortable around one another, and that we're able to get these relationships going, because we have to be comfortable to be there for one another, to sacrifice for one another. All right, so the next thing we're going to go into is marriage. And I know I have those who are married, those who look to be married. This is a one that is very key, because I'll just read the commentary. We just go into it.
The relationship previously mentioned are all rolled up into one.
The relationships previously mentioned
are all rolled up into one when it comes to marriage. Marriage is like the University of Higher Learning when it comes to relationships. Parental relations are elementary. Siblings and friends are high school. But marriage is a accumulation of all one has learned, and marriages show how well we listen in class. The Father has given us the tools on how to successfully operate in a marriage when it comes to family and friends.
Right, so we understand that our relationship with our parents, we understand how to have a relationship when it comes to our parents, right? And then it kind of steps up whatever we learn in that relationship. We actually tend to share that with our own friends, siblings, because now we're kind of making our own judgment concerning siblings and friends, because we're not in a form where we're respecting what our parents tell us. Now we're on a plane where we can make decisions, who we talk to, how we operate with them. So that's the high school, because now we're on our own, just like we were in high school, to the point where, elementary school would still show up to a point, but in high school, you're more on your own. It's more up to you on how you operate in a relationship. So that's siblings and friends. And then marriage is, like I said, is a combination of all those, because the reason why I say it's all rolled up into one, because you have a lot more that you have to operate in when you become married. It's just no longer you, it's now you and your husband. It's no longer you and your husband, it's now you and your husband and their parents and your parents. It's not only that, it's the siblings, if they have any, it's grandparents, all that comes into play. So how you handle those relationships with your parents and with your siblings and friends is going to show how you're able to handle those relationships with your spouse, and also those that are not in your immediate family. So we're going to go to Genesis 2, 23 to 24. Genesis 2, 23 through 24.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 23. And Adam said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh."
All right, so a man will leave his father and mother. So now he's no longer under the authority of his parents. Once he leaves the home, he's no under that authority, right? So then he'll cleave unto his wife, and being one flesh, each of you become a new individual to your own families. So that relationship changes right then and there. The relationship you previously had now alters, because now you're married, because you become one. It's no longer just you, it's you and your spouse. Now that relationship changed. Now they have to look at you differently outside of their son or their daughter. Then you're married. And it says, and when you're married, you have new responsibilities. Your responsibilities are not longer, we're going to get into it in the scriptures, but your responsibilities are no longer just what it used to be when you were under your parents. So we're going to go to Tobit, back to Tobit chapter 8, verses 5 through 7.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 8, verse 5. Then began Tobias to say, "Blessed art thou, O Ahijah, our fathers." Right. "And blessed in thy holy and glorious name forever. Let the heavens bless thee and all thy creatures. Thou madest Adam and gavest him Eve, his wife, for an helper and stay. Of them came mankind, thou hast said, it is not good that man should be alone. Let us make unto him an aid like unto himself." Right,
so that's the first part where it comes into this relationship, and this I'm going to go somewhere with the family. So we understand first on the understanding on the creation, or what the man's responsibility is and what the woman's responsibility. The woman's responsibility is to aid the husband. It says here, "Let us make unto him an aid like unto himself." So of course they both have to agree. Right, they got to be in order to be married, you got to be in agreement to get married, obviously, but also you got to be in agreement of understanding of how you operate as well. So, looking at that now, it says here, "Aid like unto thyself." we know what the role is for the wife. Tobias is understanding now, she's my age. Is going to help me. All right, keep reading.
Verse 7. And now, O Ahia, I take not this my sister for lust, but uprightly, therefore mercifully, ordain that we may become aged together.
Right, so you're not taking anything outside of being an aid to help him. So, so Tobias understood and knew this, Tobit's son, he understood and knew this, that she's going to help me in living on earth, on how to operate on earth. She's going to help me with that. So we're going to continue on. We're going to stay in Apocrypha. We're going to go to Sirach, chapter 7, verse 25. Because this is what's going to be key for those who are married and those who are looking to be married, is that a lot of things are going to change in your relationships with the previous things with family and friends. A lot of things are going to change in your relationship once you become married, because you have, like I said, you got new responsibility to that other person that you're married to. And those things are going to alter when it comes to the relationships you had with your parents and things like that. It's going to have to change.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7, verse 25. Marry thy daughters, and so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter, but give her to a man of understanding.
So this is the father's responsibility, to make sure that when he does give, if he has a daughter, to a man of understanding, so that he doesn't have to, there's no problems after that he's transferred over his responsibility he had to his daughter over to another man who's going to take care of her now. So this is the understanding of now, this is, I know it may seem like a harsh word, but this is a transaction, all right, between two men. One man is giving his daughter to another man, right? And it's a weighty matter because he wants to make sure that his daughter is taken care of as he took care of her. So he wants to make sure he gives it to a man that understands that and is going to do the same thing, right? So all of us who parents who have children, we want the best. Who have children, we want the best for them. So that's why it's a weighty matter. It's going to be a heavy decision, because he wants to make sure that this transaction is going to go well, because he knows what he has, what he's giving up. All right. So we're going to continue on. Genesis 34 and 12.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 34, verse 12. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 34, verse 12. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife.
Right, so this goes in, I just use this scripture, this goes into Dinah, the sister of Jacob, when he, defiled her and then wanted to give a dowry. They understood what the dowry was. He said, anything, I just want her for my wife. So we're going to get into understanding of what that dowry is. So dowry is, in the Hebrew, is H 41:19. All right, if you could read that for me, officer. Just both down.
All right, so what's that? Mohar from H41:17. A price for a wife, dowry.
All right, so there's a price for a wife, and then we're going to read down here.
Purchase price for wife, wedding money.
All right, so it's a purchase price. And like I said before, that's why I use the term transaction, because it's a purchase price. Was they wanted to purchase, like I said, I don't want it to sound harsh because I'm going to get into some scriptures to kind of explain that. But that's what it is. It's a business transaction between two men. He was interested in Dina, even though he went about it wrong. He wasn't going to have it anyway. But he said, I'm willing to pay anything for this. I really want your daughter. So I'm going to pay a price for her. All right? So, but we're going to continue on in this because, like I said, I'm going somewhere with it. So we're going to go to Genesis 24. Stay in Genesis 24, 50 through 53.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 24, verse 50. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing proceedeth from the Most High. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son's wife, as the Most High have spoken, as the Lord has spoken. Salaki. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped the Most High, bowed himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels and silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things.
All right, so this is considered a money transaction on this one. For the hand of Rebekah, it was silver and gold, all right, as money, as far as that. So that's one type of dowry, all right, that in order to make a transaction for a wife. And like I said, I'm going somewhere with this. We're going to go to chapter 29 in Genesis, verses 15 through 21.
Genesis chapter 29, verse 15. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had two daughters, and the name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger one was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her.
Right. So this has got to be the longest layaway in history. 7 years. I don't think, hey, most places you can't keep it in there for 2 months. You know what I'm saying? But this is like, this is a different transaction where he worked, you know what I'm saying, for his wife, to the point to where, like I said, I'm still going this because this is a transaction. Now, normally when you have transactions, if you purchase something, can the other individual come and take it? It's a transaction, right? If you buy something, like I said, if you get some nice outfit from the store, the person who sold it to you, can they come back and like, hey, can I wear that? Can I take it? No, it's theirs, right? So this is where I'm going with this, because this is what's how in marriages is how we got to get the understanding concerning on once something is purchased or received, that is that individual's. And then according to marriage, as men, a lot of, we don't operate with dowries and things like that. But a lot of us got the respect. It's either, in other countries, but most of ours are just like, if the sister did have a father or a brother, only thing they wanted to make sure you treat my sister right, or treat my daughter right, and that's what their wishes are. So in that particular dowry, it's a dowry nonetheless, but it's a dowry of a non-monetary. Go to 1 Samuel 18 and 25 to get some more clarity on on that. Because like I said, it's one with money where you have to offer the father something, which we know, but this one here is a non-monetary transaction. It's like, hey, I will do this for you in order to get your daughter's hand in marriage.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18, verse 25. And Saul said, thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry.
So the king, Samuel didn't desire a dowry. Keep reading.
But an 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines.
Right, so we understand and know that Saul offered his daughter to David, but he didn't want a dowry. He just wanted him to do something for him. You know what I'm saying? So this dowry is not always monetary. It's just that, like we just read for Jacob, and also read in even though Saul was trying to get David killed, you know, in this one, but he didn't want a dowry. He just wanted David to do something for him. So we're going to read the commentary to get some more clarity on the purpose of the dowry.
The dowry determines how a father values his daughter and what he will lose when she is gone.
Right. So that's the dowry in that retrospect. It's not like you are an item or what they call it, a mail order bride. You know what I'm saying? It's not in that regard. But keep reading.
No amount of money will ever replace her.
Right, because if she was a righteous daughter, like say for instance, in Exodus when Moses, you know, Zipporah, you know, they mentioned all the sisters. You know, they went and they watered her father's flock. You know, if a daughter is a righteous daughter, she's doing things in the home, she's valuable, you know, as far as that, she's going to be missed. You know, like I said, I have my daughters and things like that. They help cook and clean, things like that. When they leave the house, they're going to be missed because guess what? Now we got to do it again. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the value comes in at, to where this is what this dowry is for, because it's like, hey, I can't go free because of what I'm all going to lose, even though no money's going to place the value of my child. But this is like we'll read.
The dowry is just a consolation prize to the father, showing how valuable the daughter's role was in the home.
Now, you know, it could be something in monetary, or it could be something like we just read. It could be a non-monetary or monetary transaction, depending on how valuable your daughter was to you. Now, it can go one way, but it can go the other way. Now, if only the father wanted is a little Debbie snack, some Chico sticks, you know what I'm saying? You know, a pack of Annihilators, you know what I'm saying? You know, a case of Wildwoods from Aldi's. Hey, you might not be, you know, the best daughter. Hey, you know, you could probably been despised if that's all he wants. But it should be saying to the brother he giving you to, is like, hey, whoa, this is all you want for your daughter? What's going on?
All GMO.
Yeah, you know, you know what I'm saying, some Flamin' Hots. That's all you want for my daughter's hand in marriage, some Flamin' Hot Cheetos with the walkie taco? No, there's gotta be something. There's gotta be something to that. So if that's the case, you know what I'm saying, it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying, it can show how valuable she was, or it's like, hey, I just need to get her out of the house. She's a headache. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the dowry is not, you know, I know, because it's like, I'm not, you know, just some item to be just bought, you know, things like that. But it's just not that. It's more into it than that. It's just something that the father receives because of what he's going to lose. And then, like I said, verses on that, depending on how valuable the daughter is, the more he's going to ask, because he's going to be losing that extra help that he once had in the home. So, Genesis 31.
It's the book of Genesis chapter 30, verse 1. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, oh my goodness, Slovakia. Okay, it's almost over. Genesis chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob have taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's have he gotten all this glory.
So we see there's a situation brewing. Keep reading.
Verse 2, and Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before.
So they were cool before, but now, when money is involved, hey, looking at them funny now. Keep reading.
And the Most High said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee.
And the Most High said, hey, it's time for you to leave, because something's about to go down. Keep reading.
And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock.
So he called both of his wives now, right? So we're going to get some more understanding. Keep reading.
And said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the Most High my father has been with me.
So he discussed it with them, and this is the relationship part. Hey, there's an issue. Hey, which your father, this is what we do. We discuss it. Hey, I think your mom and your father have a problem with me concerning on what happened. We had this deal. Something happened. But they discussed together, husband and wife. They didn't go and, the wife didn't go out the way and speak to the father, anything like that. They discussed it amongst themselves first. Keep reading.
And ye know that with all my power I have served your father.
Right, so he's explaining, I've done right by your father. You know that, right? Jacob just confirming that with them. Keep reading.
And your father have deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But the Most High suffered him not to hurt me.
Right, so, Jacob explaining this too. This is the situation. This is why his countenance has changed. But you know what happened. So he changed my wages 10 times. You know what he did. That's why I got 2 wives instead of 1. You know all these things he did, right? So he's, Jacob is giving that understanding concerning that you know how your father's operating. So you know he's not operating right. All right, keep reading.
If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle's ring strike. Thus the Most High have taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me.
Right, because the Most High knew, we all know the story. He put the rod in the water, things like that. But then Laban got salty because they made the deal and he found that every calf that was born was going to Jacob. Now he had nothing. So now he's looking at him funny.
Verse 10, and it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream. And behold, the rounds which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight and speckled and grizzled.
All right, jump down to verse 14.
Verse 14, and Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house?
So they're saying the same thing. Is there anything left for us? Keep reading.
Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and have quite devoured also our money.
So he took their money too. The money he was supposed to give them as well. He took their money, but he said he has sold us. So that's that transaction, right? That we're talking about, that they're no longer under their father, they're under Jacob. That, and this is where we have to make in our relationship, in our marriage, even with our parents, because as we see it, we have a beef here. And we're going to get some more clarity. Keep reading.
For all the riches which the Most High have taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's now then, whatsoever the Most High have said unto thee, do.
Right, so they're in agreement. So they're no longer like, well, that's my father. You know what I'm saying? We should talk to them. Like, no, Jacob, that transaction was made, that 7-year layaway. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now you're my wife, you're under me. You know what I'm saying? I'm your head now. Your father's no longer your head. You know what I'm saying? Now what they're doing, they're not saying, well, that's my father. No. Hey, whatever that you say, we're going to do. And that's what's going to help keep marriages together, is when we start to come under that authority to the point where, regardless of what happens in a relationship with our parents or any, this is just Laban. This is with the brothers were looking at him funny too, but his wives was like, no, whatever the Most High told you to do, we're going to do, and that's how we have to be. We have to, they were trusted in their husband because once again, that transaction was made. He no longer has that authority he once did, Laban, over his daughters. That authority belongs to Jacob now, their husband. Keep reading.
Verse 7.
No, that's it. Let's jump down to verse 40.
Verse 40. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times.
So this is Jacob, this man to man, Jacob talking to his father-in-law. It's like, hey, he's explaining to him, hey, I served for your 2 daughters 14 years, and 6 more for your cattle. And you deceived me because you changed my wages 10 times. So Jacob is telling them, hey, you know what I'm saying, I left because you were disrespecting me. All right, keep reading.
Except the Most High of my fathers, the Most High of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hadst sent me away now empty.
Right, you know what I'm saying? He knew, hey, because they just already discussed, his wives already said, we don't have any money. He took our inheritance. So if I would have stayed, I would have left with nothing. So the Most High knew that, and that's why he had to leave, because if I'd have stayed, I would have been broke. Keep reading.
The Most High have seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight.
Right, so Jacob was telling him why he left. But this is what will happen even in our own family. We'll read this. Keep reading.
And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children, which they have borne?
Right, so this is what you start hearing. Well, that's my sister, or that's my brother. You know what I'm saying? These are my grandchildren. Nah. You know what I'm saying? No, this is where that authority comes in, to where the father and the husband and the wife have to understand the authority when they become one. Like I said, they have the responsibilities changed now. Now you can't say, hey, these are my daughters. Now remember, we just read, he sold us. Once you made that transaction, that all changes. There's no, they used to use the term, this is what you're talking about, Indian giver and all that stuff. But you can't, there's no take backs. You know what I'm saying? It's no longer, now these are my daughters and stuff when, now we don't have anything. No, once you gave them to me, now these are my wives now. These are my wives, these are my children. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, are they your grandchildren, things like that? Yeah, but that authority belongs with me as far as that as a husband, as a wife. In a marriage, you have to set that truth, those commandments, because if you don't, then you will get that. Well, what you mean you can't let me, I can't talk to my cousin? You know what I'm saying? If I need some help or some money. What you mean I can't, because they'll try. You got to understand and know that they will usurp your authority because on account of the relationship they have with with your spouse. Instead of going to, let's say for instance, if they need help with something, the right thing to do is to go to the husband because he's the head of the house, right? You're supposed to go to the husband. If you need anything out of that house, that home, out of that family, you're not supposed to go to the wife. You're supposed to go, or the spouse. Or if you do go to the spouse, the wife is supposed to direct them to the husband. But a lot of times you don't get that because people don't understand and know, first of all. They don't understand and know the actual arrangements of marriage, the actual, how the hierarchy is set. But these are the things as when you're married, you have to be one on, because that can cause conflict in the marriage. And just like in the issue with Laban, you have to be in agreement. If you know somebody's doing wrong, like in this instance, your parents or something like that is doing wrong, you know they're being wicked. You can't argue back and forth. Well, that's still my mother and my father. No, you know what I'm saying. Once you come together, you're a new individual, and you got to operate according to the Most High. You got to operate with them according to the Most High. If they're being bold, they mistreat you, hey, you go to them, let them know where you stand. If they still have an issue with it, hey, you know what you have to do as far as with that relationship. It's either going, like I said, it's a sword that's going to divide, bring together, or divide. All right? So we're going to continue on. We're going to go to Ephesians 5:21 through 33. Because we got to remember, family members can divide a marriage. And they can break up marriages too. Relationships can. Friends and family. A lot of times we don't want to get to the point where we're trying to uphold our relationships outside of our marriage and end up damaging our own marriage. You know what I'm saying? That can't happen. You can't allow anything to take away or tear apart your marriage, your relationship. Family, when you got to set that guideline with the Most High.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 21. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of the Most High.
So submitting yourselves one to another. So that's the key point there. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of the Most High. Can you read it?
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands and unto the Most High. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. And he is the savior of the body.
Right, because the husband is the head and he's the savior of the family. He's going to be able to protect you and things like that. And that's what the husband's responsibility is to do, is to protect the house, protect you from others. So that's the way you have to look at it. When you're in a marriage, you're submitting yourselves one to another, so you are taking care of one another. But the husband, him being the head, his responsibility is to make sure the family is intact and not allowing anybody outside of that family that they built to come in and destroy anything. Because his whole thing is to save the body. It's to save yours and your children. So he's going to do what is right according to the Most High to do that. That means that he may have to ruffle some feathers on your family side. Because if he sees something that's, there's a red alert, he sees something that's going on. And and the spouse has to be in respect of that. And saying that, my husband is doing this because I know he fears the Most High and he's doing it to protect me. He's not doing it for any outside reason for that, because of the show, just like how Jacob did with his wife. He discussed and said, this is the reason why I'm doing this. And you can't be caught up. If it's my cousin, if it's my brother, you can't be caught up in that, because once again, water is thicker than blood when it comes to baptism. So you can't allow those things to ruin your relationship. Keep reading.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Because remember, sisters, those who are married, you are the least path to resistance when it comes to family members needing things. Remember this, you're going to be the least path to resistance, because believe me, I've seen it and know it, that they will go to the wives first to get what they need before they go to their husband. And you have to be cognizant of that and knowing that up front. Because whatever they need, they're not going to, and this goes, they're not going to go to your husband. They're going to ask you. You know what I'm saying? And then, you have to realize, no, that's not the order the Most High have. And then if you want something, you have to speak to my husband on that. And guess what's going to happen? A lot of times they're not going to ask. And guess what that does? That truth does, that commandment does. It saves you from a lot of heart stress too. I have to deal with it. You're not considered the bad guy. Because that's the husband, the man's role. The man's going to get that role. He's going to get it anyway. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that's going to inflict the pain when it comes to discipline. Hey, you know, he's going to be the one that's going to have to stand up. He's going to be the one that's have to be boisterous and the one that's going to ruffle feathers, because that's his position, because he's supposed to protect. That lion is going to protect. The lion's going to do, you know, when he's protecting, it's not going to be all nice and calm all the time. Well, no, you were mean. No, hey, that's your responsibility to be that way if it needs to be. It's not about him doing something because he's doing it on purpose. It's that he foresees something going to happen, and he has to do what his responsibility to do to protect it. All right, keep reading.
Verse 25, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church, and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Right, so he's going to look out for you, and he's going to use it by the word of the Most High. That's how he's going to operate. He operates in the word of the Most High, and he's going to love you according to the word. And that's your benchmark to know that he's loving you and doing what's right in the relationship on protecting you is according to the word of the Most High. Can you read it?
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourish it and cherish it, even as the Most High the church.
Right, so no one, like I said, no one hated his own flesh. He's going to take care of it. That's how he's going to take care of you. All right, keep reading.
For we are members of his body, and of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
Exactly. Once again, like I said, he's going to be protecting you from those who are outside of your family. And remember, like I said, your family is your family. That's the first part, especially in a marriage. You're your own unit. You know, outside of that, then you have your parents and your siblings and things like that. But you are your own unit first. And that has to be in righteousness with the Most High. And you can't break that for nobody outside of that family. You can't get into spats and arguments in relation to because of who this person is on my side of the family, or vice versa, or who this person is in my life, a friend or something like that. No. They have no bearing on how you operate in your own family. It should be you, your husband, and your children. And you should be operating in that structure. And if you do that, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache, you're going to save yourself from a lot of arguing. You're going to save yourself from a lot of, once again, those awkward moments. You're going to save yourself from a lot of stress because you're trying to figure out, all right, how I'm going to do this for this, that, and the other. And how I'm going to let my husband know I did this, that, and the other. Or how I'm going to let my wife know I did this, that, and the other. If you operate according to how Jacob did, he talked to his wives, explained what the situation would happen. They understood because they went through the same thing, and they was able to operate as one. And that's how we have to communicate. Let know, hey, I understand and know this is your father. I understand and know this is your mother. I understand and know this is your one of your best friends from college. I know this is your sibling. Hey, but we can't do this right now. We can help him this, we help her this way, him this way, but this is how we're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And we can't be offended if, say, for instance, the husband is like, no, we don't got it right now. No, they can't stay over. No, I can suggest some things, but no, we can't do that. Because you gotta trust in his responsibility as a husband to take care of you, even though that you don't see it, because you see a family member. You don't see someone outside of that as he sees, and vice versa. As the wife sees, like, hey, I know that's your brother, but hey, this is what he's doing. I know your responsibility, you're the head, you make the decisions, but as your aide, me aiding you to help you, and you're not seeing this in this relationship. Okay, all right, thank you. You know, I said now I can function correctly in this relationship, and that's how you can weed out. That's how you operate in the marriage with your relatives outside of that. That's the way you're going to be able to have a peaceful marriage and trust more on one another once we start exacting the word of the Most High as it is written. All right. So, go with the last commentary.
Remember, base your relationships on the word of the Most High, and you can't go wrong. Shalom.
All right, shalom. Praise the Most High for the word on today. I know the time is getting there. Anybody any questions? Anything like that? Comments? No, it's getting kind of late, so. Okay. All right, I hope that was edifying. You know, that was edifying for everybody. So with that, we go ahead. Yes.
I wanted to make a comment. Yeah, you know,
Hold up.
I wanted to make a comment. I was thinking about this. My uncle, he's in prison, been in prison for a long time, since the 80s. So I've been helping him and this and that and the other. He's a Muslim, and he wanted me to do something. You know, take care of some business for him, with one of his Muslim brothers. But I don't want to do it because, you know, he's like a prison lawyer or whatever, so he does a lot for other people. But I wanted him like to work on like some of the family stuff, and you know I had a lot on my plate doing that, and I wanted him to do that. So I would do it, you know. I'm like, you know, take care for the family, what you're supposed to be doing, whatever. So he got mad at me. Now I've been down with him all while he's been there. He got upset with me, and now he doesn't like, you know, correspond with me or anything like that the way he used to. So now he does it with my brother's wife, you know. It's like she's his niece now, you know. And I was, you know, I kind of got upset at first, but I'm like, wait a minute, what really determines family? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The same thing, you know, you were saying. Is it blood, or is it being of the same mind, or walking in agreement, you know, with each other? So I had to look at it like that. That's really what it is, because I remember when they first, you know, got involved in, you know, what they involved in. My brother did too. He was younger, 18, and he was like, "This is my family," you know. They come before anybody else, like us. You know, and I was like, well, get out my mama and daddy's house, eat our food and stuff, you know, go be with them. But, you know, that's how they looked at it. And I didn't understand that then. Well, today I do, but, you know, I'm like, wow, you know. So with this teaching, that's true, you know. Who is your family? Like Christ said, who is my mother?
Right.
But those that, you know,
do the will of the Father, right, exactly. Yeah, like I said, you know, love can be, you know, man can be finicky, but, you know, with those who operate the Most High, you know a level or standard you already know is going to be there, that you know you can trust, you know. So yeah, that's a great example.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I just found this precept that this correlates with the lesson, I believe, perfectly. It's Proverbs chapter 24, verse 19 through 23. It says, fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked, for there shall be no reward to the evil man, and the candle of the wicked shall be put out. My son, fear thou the Most High, the King, and meddle not with them that are given to change. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment.
Right, exactly. You know, respecting persons is another part of, you know, loving someone else over the Most High. We respecting our parents to the point where we follow them, or our friends that we follow what they do. Guess what? You're not serving the Father. So that was a great precept. All right. That's it. I guess we can all pray.
Really breaks my heart. Cause we've been lied to, misled for years, calling out to the Most High on this trail of tears.